Welcome back, everybody, to today's broadcast of the CLOL Championship on Salty Runback. We're rejoined by Colthrow and Shogo, and you guys are getting your money's worth for the guest appearance, boys, as we have got a full 5-game series.
Hey, they listen to us. They listen to Coulthard saying that they should play for Dragons. They listen to us saying we want to see Serenok. We got it. We can win.
We can win.
Can we
No,
win,
I really
Quacks?
liked this game from Fisher. You know, Serenok looked really good on the Ari. They looked a lot more decisive too. I think Callista Renata offers like a really big like safety window where like you can't punish the Callista because of Renata R and bailout, and you can't punish the Renata because of Callista R, and like we saw that multiple times, like that bot dive that got botched with the bailout and Renata R. So I don't know. It seems to be working for Fisher. I kind of like it. I still want to see
Yeah,
Bej play one game of not Cassante, but
I like the Renata. It like you said, it's kind of seems like they're crutching on it. I just hope that if if there's ever a situation where either one of the Calista or Renata get banned, that we can still actually succeed. At least for Fisher's sake.
Oh.
Yeah,
Quacks, where are you
absolutely.
at on this? You think we're in it?
Yeah, I mean, I think Fisher, can easily ride the momentum of last game into game number 5. They were halted there in games 2 and 3, so I'm interested to see if they can punch back. But I am also a believer with Colthrow and Shoga. I think Bajani has shown a lot of colors just on the Cassante, so I would really like to see him put on something else. When they were 2-1 up against Fisher, it was Northwood who decided to, say, let's go things like the Nautilus top. Let's go things like the Poppy. So I want to see if maybe Fisher have something up their sleeves on that degree, and specifically in that top lane.
Let's talk about sleeves there a little bit. I mean, those were some of the creative picks we got to see out of Northwood in game number 4. They flex the Poppy into support. They take the Nautilus to top lane.
I
Did they
hated
burn
it.
it a little bit?
I
Shogo,
hated it.
Coldthrow.
I hated it. Poppy wins level 1 and then loses for the rest of the game. Like, please be serious. The Nautilus top does absolutely nothing. Bro is walking barefoot for 27 minutes. Like, guys, I'm gonna get them. I'm gonna get them. I'm too slow. That champ does nothing. Like, please be serious.
Would you have
I
preferred
tend
if
to
it
agree.
was? Would you have preferred if it was the other way around, Nautilus in the support role and Poppy and top? Because I know Poppy does really
Yes,
nicely into
I
Cassante, right?
would, and also I think Enthralled wouldn't feel pressured to go Hail of Blades if it was with the Nautilus. I think him going Hail of Blades baited him into going AP, and that their only physical damage that game was Rek'Sai. So Cassante was
Yeah.
just chilling, sitting inside 5 people, just vibing, taking 5,000 damage, going back to base, TPing back. Like, Bajani bought so much time for his team, and then Keel had that pop off, 4-man Wukong R, and it seemed like Northwood just didn't have the DPS to deal with the front line.
Yeah, I really hate, the kind of full AP comp we see here. I honestly can never see the thought process of going, AP Kaisa there.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, maybe with the Hellblades type builds that you have to do with Poppy, maybe he's a bit pressured to do that. But like, it looks very miserable when, when they're kind of just when Veg is sitting middle 5 people for about 4 fights in a row, taking no damage, getting out, and then Wukong finds a re-engage. It seems pretty rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody who's been on some really normal stuff, it feels like, over the course of these couple of series, or at least the last few games, has been RBM, right? This is like, at least I come into this thinking about the Gwen jungle and the Kha'Zix, of course, that Kindred, the Karthus that he played earlier back in the round of 32. Not really seeing those kind of picks out of him here. Colthrow, as resident jungler here, are you feeling like he could be potentially enabling Northwood a little bit more if he goes for some of those more pocket picks, or do you think that these kind of drafts call for your more traditional Rek'Sais and Zhao's stuff like that?
I do think that the drafts. I mean, I kind of agree with most of his picks that he's doing. Kudos to him for kind of finding like the Rek'Sai into the Calista Renata. I did like with the Talia, and I do appreciate his outlook on it. It looks pretty good in the games. That being said, though, you are kind of the main threat in this team. You are kind of the as some would say, like the best player and or star. I
Mm-hmm.
think a game 5 when you're kind of down, I could definitely see him going more towards it. I mean, this could potentially be his last game in Seoul, right?
Yep.
I would definitely like to see him, pull out a big carry threat here.
I think if I'm RBM, I come into this game. We lost momentum. We took a big loss in this game forward. Like Fisher has all the momentum now. If I'm RBM, I'm like, guys, I trust myself. I have the dog in me. Like I know I can carry. Just draft for me to get a strong jungler that I can carry with, and I think that's just Northwood's best chance of winning. Is just to put all their eggs in the RBM basket.
And meanwhile, for Fisher, right? They made it happen on the Cassante yet again, so they're 2-2 on the Cassante on the day. For
I mean,
Bijani,
Cassante
do we?
is not a weak team by any means. It's
Mhm.
just I feel like Bijani can get away with more greedy picks.
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to see, if we're completing the Fisher bingo card, I feel like, we've gotten a lot from what we wanted of them in game number 4. Now I think it is just one more little X box to tick here, and that's Bijani going on something different. We had the Fisher wheel. I think Bijani playing something other than Cassante should probably be on there at this point in the series.
Yeah, we haven't had DMK Jinx yet either.
No, we haven't.
It's true. Although, to be fair, the wheel said pick ban Jinx, but
Yes.
the wheel also said sub in Topo, so I don't think we're getting that one, but we'll give it a little bit. Yeah, I mean, you could say it's one final test here, Quacks.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. One game. Yep. The slogan of the collegiate league coming true here. Now we are in the losers bracket. Game 5, do or die time for both of these teams, and sticking to their guns, quite literally banning away all the champs with said guns and bows, as all the 80 carries just continuing to be taken off the table.
Now I think here, obviously Fisher might end up for the Callista unless Northwood P1s it. It's just kind of on the other ball lane. Whoever doesn't end up and we see Callista banned. So both these ball lanes have got to
off the table, please, ASAP.
Skarner's also up. We have to see both these ball lanes kind of find something that has more success because we didn't see the Wishinami work. We didn't see most of the other bot lanes work as well as the Callista or the Jinx. So they should be on pretty new picks here.
The
I'm
respect
kinda worried
paid
for
towards the
Fisher now,
Kindred.
'cause I don't know how we answer Skarner.
There it is. I mean, they could go. I would be fuming at it, but I'm thinking the Cassante might be an answer here, as much as we all hate it.
Well, here's the thing. This might be a real flex pick, right? This isn't the Maokai. Like, you could... RBM probably plays the Skarner. He hasn't played it yet, but I would be very shocked to find out this guy hasn't been taking the old Scorpion out for a couple of rings around the rosy for his
Some test
ever since
drives.
it got reworked.
Yeah,
I do like the
Nautilus.
Nautilus takeaway. Yeah, I love that.
It gives Kuhn the agency that we wanted him on. I think Keel's champion pool is deep enough to drop the second phase, and so is Bej. And I think R5 top lane might have a lot of value. And we'll see what DMK's ADC pick will be, because I do think it should be ADC on 3 here. We have seen him play a mean Xayah, but Xayah's not best into Zeri. But I would like to see him just slam that, even though the lane is not great. It has the tools to DPS the Skarner, it has the tools to not die to Nico. I would love a Xayah here.
Yeah, I think Xayah would be a really good option, but they're actually... Yeah, I could see your reactions, and I, as a caster, have to remain a little bit impartial, but if I was one of you guys, I'd probably do that as well.
I hate it. How do you kill a Skarner?
Not the biggest fan.
I just don't like it.
Unless we end up seeing something like a Graves or something out of Peel, I'm not a big
I think it's good with like Rumble. Maybe we can see Bej take Rumble, and like Rumble has pretty good setup. Like you drop the Nautilus R and you drop the Rumble ult on top of it, and you open up with Jhin. That could be fine. But if a fight is front to back, like how do you deal with this Skarner as Fisher? It seems super hard.
Yeah, it's going to be a big question mark. I also want to call out, I mean, this is Enthralled's first Zeri of the tournament. The Zeri was a big pick for him in ACL. He played on a team called Cerulean's Kittens, where they played a whole bunch of that
Throwback.
Zeri through him. Did you say throwback? This is like a month ago.
Well, I casted that Cerulean's Kittens squad, I think, in their first week along with Slayer, so yeah, I like that Cerulean squad.
That's fair. It's super fair here. As now, let's see what Fisher want to go for.
I do like the Diego Ben. Then go back to the Wukong.
Run back to the Wukong. Okay, and now a chance here. We got maybe we find out the flex of the Skarner, and we find out what the support is going to be here. What would you prioritize if you're playing Zeri here, Shogo?
I think Braum is good. I think Alistar is good. Rel is good. Leona's good. Like, there's so many options you can go for.
Just something
like
that engages.
Alistar.
I think Alistar has a lot of value against Wukong. Yeah, I would like Alistar.
Renata.
I
Renata.
personally don't know how you feel about Renata. I'm not the biggest fan.
I don't
Shogo.
love it here, no. I think they need, like, if they're playing as 4, they need like,
hard engage.
Yeah, like, Skarner's
I
not
think
going to be
it's-
there the whole time. So they have Vi as their front line. I don't think we're super happy with that. Please, for the love of God, Bej.
I think it's luck.
Whatever, it's fine. Just let him have it.
I mean, he's been killing.
He's been performing. He's been performing.
But yeah,
I also think it's easier for Zeri to deal with Cassante. Much easier than, the Jinx.
I do think the big thing you look at here is the fact that Northwood's comp is kind of off theme. The Renata is extremely off theme.
Right.
Nico, Skarner, Vi are all going in. Zeri and Renata do not want to play like that at all.
Yeah, I agree. I would even like a Galio support, maybe. It's good into Nautilus.
Yeah.
It's great follow-up to the Vi. It creates a lot of space against Wukong.
I think the thing you're worried about is having enough damage. Like you said, the Jin, not necessarily the strongest DPS character, and they have an Ahri Wukong, not necessarily a carry threat there. But it looks like they're just going to kind of try and dogpile on the first target they see. Just hope that Poon can find some folks onto Zeri or figure out a way to deal with her, because she could be a problem.
Yeah, I think the key is going to be for Fisher to find successful ganks on bot side, because I think Nautilus, Jin do have really good setup, and they have plenty of damage to just, kill the Renata and then wait for the bailout to end. I do think they have the tools to get a lead in mid and bot, with great setup from Ahri and Nautilus Jin, and I would like to just see top lane being an island and get ignored by both sides, honestly.
Find out if they're going to be able to do that. Looking like we are being ready to get on to the Rift for game number 5. One final test for both of these squads on the day. One will move on to CLOL top 4. The other will be going home until 2025. It's Northwood on the blue, Fisher College on the red. And it all comes down to this one, Quacks.
And just right out of the gate, I feel we have DMK going Dark Harvest on the Jin. This is not a keystone you see every day in competitive, for that matter. I feel like this is probably the first time I've seen Dark Harvest on an AD carry in my my casting career, I want to say. Maybe except for, like...
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a little bit of a spicy one for certain. And I mean, it's, it feels like it's something that we've let fall by the wayside as the series is heated up, but still feels like it's a very very swingy bot lane selection for Fisher College with this Jin and this Nautilus. It feels like you really want to build out a lead up against this Zeri Renata. It's a bit of an awkward duo. They definitely have the opportunities to do so, but the onus is going to be on them to execute, right? If you just come into a 40-minute game and you're even with this Zeri, I think Enthralled is going to make you pay for it. He got a pentakill on this pick in the North Conference semifinals up against St. Louis. Was able to take that one. Now going to be looking to have another big performance on it, this time in the biggest stage at the CLOL Championship.
Yep, I mean, Enthralled, the mechanics are the thing that have highlighted him as a player, and Zeri is all mechanics, right? This champion relies a lot on, being able to spam Q really fast, but also, timing when to go in. Kind of falls into the same realm as I feel champions like Vayne, where it's, kind of going into that YOLO mode, where you just want to fight, like right now.
Wow. What a trigger pull out of Clyde and Enthralled. Clyde flashes in for the handshake, pops that ignite, and it will chunk DMK to about half HP. See how much that ends up being worth it, as they are not able to finish off the kill, but they do put the Jin on no summoners available See if RBM can show up within the next couple of minutes and make him feel the pain for that one.
For sure, and both junglers roaming on down to ward that bot lane means we might have the potential to see a 3v3 fight. RBM actually going to dodge out on the vision here, not going to go for the Raptor, so this is telling me that he is going to go straight for potentially an aggressive play onto Keel's jungle, and I mean, he has every right to do so, right? You can see the mid push here for Reppy, you can see that in bot lane, Fisher's bot lane are under their tower, so if he wants to try and mess with this Wukong a little bit, he has every right to do so.
Yeah, RBM making his way on up here. Keel finishes off the Grom. And RBM going to start on up on the blue buff. Here comes Enthralled over the wall. Has the cutoff angle. Keel's got to get out of here as he gets punched in the face. And we'll have to decoy away. Reppy coming on up as well. It's a 4-man assault on the blue buff, and Northwood will take it.
And this is the aggression we wanted to see from Northwood, right? Getting into Keel's face. Keel has been such an X factor, or not even an X factor, probably the most consistent factor, I would say, on Fisher throughout this entire series, just being able to make plays out of seemingly thin air. So being able to stunt him early on in this game, being able to subjugate the pressure he wants to put on bot and get him away from this bot lane 2v2 is definitely a good move from Northwood.
Yeah, and I mean, this is very interesting what we're seeing out of Clyde and Enthralled here. I mean, got a lot of critique of this Renata pick for being off theme on the desk, but they're playing it so aggressively, and they're coming up with the advantage for it. RBM arrives, not going to be able to land the Vault Breaker, but flash force out of Poom as Clyde threatens another handshake, and he plays this Renata so aggressively that it's keeping Fisher College on the back foot.
On the other side, though, you can see Keel taking away those camps on spawn. That Grump just coming up, but Poom potentially left all by his lonesome. I have to think they're aware of what's going on the other side of the map and want to just try and make a play here in bot lane, but instead, RBM just going to recall, but he's going to come back to a jungle that is behind on a camp.
Sure. RBM in what could be his last collegiate match here with Northwood, trying to keep himself ahead of Keel, player that we've been hyping up all series long as this big savior and big leader for Fisher College in a season where they've had, and especially a tournament, where they've had so much roster turmoil. He has held strong. He has gotten them to this point. We'll have to see if he'll be able to take them further.
Absolutely. Keel has really stepped up in this series. He's really stepped up in this tournament, like you said, Gordo. And it is, as we've highlighted so many times in this series, it's going to be a battle of the junglers, right? RBM, a player that, like you said, potentially his last game here with Northwood, going up against Keel, who is trying to restore Fisher to its glory that everyone knows it can get to. Fisher, such a storied program in general, and just wanting to make that top 4 to prove those expectations right at the end of the day.
Well, first ones on the Dragon are Northwood. Fisher collapsing from 2 different sides. Keel does not have level 6 yet, though, and that will dissuade him from going for anything. They will secure first Dragon for the Timberwolves.
Good start to this game for Northwood, and if this series has taught me anything, it's that whoever gets the Dragons usually comes out ahead in this game. So Northwood, not only for the fact that they get the Dragon, but also maybe the mental, dopamine for getting that first Dragon and saying, hey, every game that the team has gotten the first Dragon on has mostly resulted in a win. So by that extension, maybe we just win.
It's over. Series is over right
yeah,
here.
GG.
That's it. Everybody put away
one final test,
the
more like one
sticks
final
or whatever
Dragon.
you got to get hyped with. Northwood secured the first Dragon, but plenty more league left to play here. So RBM will secure that Scuttler. And members of both teams hovering around this first grub spawn. RBM going to be the first one to take a whack at him, but Keel going to be here soon. Poom arriving as well. Poom will see them in transit. RBM losing a fair bit of HP to start things off. Top laners brawling. Izo flashes over the wall to avoid getting stunned up by Bajani. Knows he would have likely gotten all-outed back into the team. And Fisher College, the better positioning, the quicker collapse. They're going to win out on this engagement. No kills found, but they're going to get all 3 grubs.
No flash onto Izo. They disengaged that fight the moment that Scorpion left the ring. So it is going to be 3 grubs going over to Fisher. And now I wonder how this is going to shift in Fisher's favor, because we haven't really seen them go onto these turret plates at all in this game. It feels like Northwood, crucially in this bot lane, have been the ones pushing Fisher up toward their own turret. And we highlighted it in the draft how we feel like the Jhin might not be the best option. You need to get some gold into this pick if you wanted to be able to take down some of these frontliners. So those grubs will help with that. But the fact that they haven't been able to touch that turret yet certainly throws a wrench, I think, in Fisher's plan.
And look at Enthralled. Look at his CS numbers. He is massively ahead of DMK. This Zeri Renata bottom lane, playing it like it's an aggressive duo, and coming out on top for it, although Bajani with an opportunity for a play onto Izo here. He's going to try to carry Keel out of the way, going to try to get his health back on up, but there's no chance. It's first blood to Bajani yet again on the Cassante, punishing Izo as they show up to give him some help.
Good chain CC there by Bajani, and good follow-up from Keel to prevent the escape from Izo. Now no TP here in the top lane means he's going to miss out on so much experience, and Bajani getting that kill is going to pick up a plate before resetting as well, means that the power dynamic here in top lane shifts super heavily in Fisher's favor. And we've seen it before, Bajani getting a slight lead on this Cassante and just being able to run away, be such a menace towards Northwood in so many of those mid to late game fights. Definitely don't want to see that. Along with the Dragons being the big constant for teams winning, it feels like the big constant for Fisher winning has been Bajani getting those kills early.
It certainly has been. And now clearing out the vision yet again. Taking control over this bottom side, setting up for this blue buff. Northwood really looking to just try to snag camps away from Keel in this game number 5. Now going to try to come back and get themselves some seconds. Enthralled continuing to keep that wave pushed in on the bottom side. RBM going to start on off the buff. He's got the backup from his mid and bot lanes, so once again, Northwood with a good setup here will come away with the buff.
But they are just going to take that away. Crucially, there is a pretty big level difference between the supports for both teams. Clyde just now dinged level 6, but was level 5. If a fight broke out there, having that depth charge available would be really useful for Fisher. But they might look for something aggressive nonetheless.
Very well might. Clyde jumping back over the wall. Serenok trying to keep up that mid lane. Meanwhile, Keel getting pushed on in by the handshake, but it doesn't look like they've got the follow-up quite available yet. He did have to blow the Cyclone, but that is it. Will forfeit control over his own jungle. Back over to Northwood yet again. They are just looking to lock down the bottom side of the map and keep Keel out of it.
For sure. Not having that Cyclone, not a huge deal for Fisher, as an objective isn't going to be spawning for a little bit. Actually, as I say that, we have a dragon spawning in 10 seconds, so never mind. Forget what I said. Not having that Cyclone, rather, would mean that Northwood could just potentially go for this dragon, get 2 dragons up in their favor, and that would be a good start here. We've seen what happens when one team gets 2 dragons in this series, Gordo.
Yeah, Northwood about to take themselves as the latest member in that storied tradition of securing the first 2 dragons. They will spot out Poom and DMK, just clearing out their vision, but I mean, Keel's on the other side of the map. Keel has gotten the message that he is not allowed on the bottom side, and will try to take the blue buff away from RBM instead. Will succeed in doing so, but like you're calling out there, Quacks, it's giving over these dragons, and it's just allowing Enthralled to continue to be so dominant on this bottom side. He's scaling up on the Zeri.
And Keel goes for the reset, which means it gives Northwood an opportunity to set up some vision around this side of the map, or maybe even just start the grubs outright. Fisher don't really have a way to move. You can see Poom just went for the reset, so they're not going to have the backup of that support available to them for quite a long time, and that's just seconds they do not have.
Definitely not, and it does mean that Fisher, for all this focus around topside, they're not even going to walk away with any Void Mites for it. Will be 3 grubs secured per team. And the reset coming on through from RBM yet again. No big item spikes hit yet for the Northwood side, but they should be getting pretty close to it soon. Fisher College, some advantages in mid and top lane will be enough to give them a faint gold lead. Does mean that they may be a little bit favored over this third dragon fight if they do manage to get all their members into position in time.
For sure, and I want to highlight just how respectfully both teams are playing here, right? Because we are in Game 5. Nobody wants to be the cause of, losing your team the game, losing your team and eliminating your team from the series for that matter. So both teams practically walking on a tightrope with every single play that they make, and I wouldn't expect anything else, right? This is a do-or-die game. This is a do-or-die series for both squads. So much riding on the line, not just for the programs, but for the players. In the case of ISO and RBM, we keep saying it, but this could be their last game. They don't want to make any of those big, egregious mistakes, just playing this game very, very cautiously so far.
Definitely. See, ISO, I mean, that Ishtal's impact, when it doesn't actually hit a wall, it just looks so goofy. He's just picking up Cassante, carrying him around a little bit. Cassante still with that advantage in the one-on-one matchup, though. It's Enthralled getting some more alone time with this bot side turret. Now with the Grubs helping out as well. I mean, he's going to get another solo plate. He already has that static shift completed.
Yikes.
Remember, we are on 14-9. This is the old static shift. It's not the new useless one, as there's going to be Vajani popping the ultimate, going all out. ISO misses out on the Impale, but will get himself out to safety. Lands a big rock, clears out the wave. Keel's not going to let him go, though. Keel's coming in for some more, diving in with the Cyclone. ISO still standing, but finally will get taken down by Vajani. Meanwhile, first turret gold goes to Enthrall to the bottom side.
And a flash to go with it. ISO taken down, but a turret taken down on the bot lane as well. And like you said, Enthralled has the static shift complete. This Zeri really going to be a big deal come these big dragon fights, and the dragon fights are what are on both teams' mind. A little less than 2 minutes here, but you can already see both teams starting to establish vision. Look at how many red wards there are around that side of the map. A TP actually coming in from ISO to make himself known on this bot side.
Yeah, going to just be the swapperoo here. I mean, hey, there's still some more juicy turret gold to get funneled into Enthralled. They're going to be looking to do everything in their power to make sure that that happens. Poom coming on in, gets hand shook. Now he's kind of pinched in here. There comes Reppy coming in for the collapse, and 4 members onto Poom. He's caught in no man's land. He's going down, and Enthralled gets 300 more gold.
Yep, Nautilus caught down in the deep and picked off by Northwood. So another kill going over to them, and crucially going over, rather their first kill on the board, and it is going over to Enthralled. The Zeri, Enthralled, kind of the new guy on the block here for Northwood, set up and poised to be the carry here for their big Game 5 in elimination here, potentially against Fisher. A lot of pressure riding up here, but he is playing this game expertly, and honestly, it's all going to come down to team fights and how he navigates it.
It is, and showing so much trust in this guy on his first CLOL championship run here with Northwood. Really giving him the rock here, and I mean, he's shown up in the laning phase as well, in a duo that pretty much everybody was pretty down on, especially given how these 2-on-2s have gone all series long. Enthralled and Clyde show up with the Zeri Renata and just take the fight to DMK and Poom, a massive lead for Enthralled, now ballooned even bigger by being able to pick up that kill onto Poom.
For sure, but now you can see with the crab take, with how much vision Fisher have established on that bot side of the map, they're just going to be able to freely take that dragon away. But I like what Northwood are doing in response to that. They're not contesting. Instead, they're continuing to juice up Enthralled on this top side, give him more gold to take that top lane turret, which could potentially leave Northwood open to pushing down this mid lane because they're sending Serenok as a response.
So they give over one Chemtech Drake. Will be able to secure more turret gold for Enthralled, and you know, we said it before, we'll say it again, it's all about Enthralled in this game number 5 for Northwood. A little bit of a quieter player throughout most of this series, given so much praise over to Reppy and to RBM, but now they're showing up, and they found Serenok. He's going to have to pop the ultimate, dash out to safety, flash blown as well. Charm underneath the turret, gets onto RBM, and takes him low. But Northwood will be able to disengage. They've gotten the flash out of the Ahri. That's all they really needed.
And it does leave Serenok in a bit of a dangerous position, right? Not having that ultimate, not having that flash leaves you open to being easy pickings for so many members of Northwood who have a lot of pick potential in their own right. You know, you have the Nico, you have the Skarner, you have the Vi, so you have a lot of tools to be able to catch some of these members off guard. So Serenok does have to be careful in these next few minutes until his ultimate comes back up, until his flash is available again. Because Northwood, if they catch a whiff of the Nine-Tailed Fox, they are going to go straight for him.
Definitely clearing out vision around top side now. Baron will be up in a couple of moments. Will be presumably a big point of interest for both teams, especially with that soul now a little bit further out of the grasp of Northwood, prioritizing getting more gold into Enthralled over potentially stacking the soul quickly. RBM doesn't connect that Vault Breaker, gets it between the uprights, now getting focused down by two members. Serenok shows up, lands the charm. RBM has the bailout on him, will get hit by the fourth shot, now getting melted down. There's going to be the hostile takeover, trying to buy space for the rest of the team to get away, but Clyde going to be taken down, and now pulled out of position is Iso. One at a time, the Northwood members are being pulled into the meat grinder that is the Fisher College composition, and Enthralled and Rempe can only watch in horror. 3 members fall, and Fisher College take advantage.
Northwood picked off one by one. They felt ridiculously uncoordinated going for that play, and they just get punished as a result. Fisher going to be able to pick up 3 kills, but it doesn't look like they'll be able to get anything else. They don't manage to get the mid turret. They don't manage to get any other turrets around the map because the top turret has been killed, and none of them are bot lane. So at the end of the day, it's just gold going over to Fisher, which they're definitely not too disappointed about.
Yeah, and I mean, Serenok, great job, shows up just in time to be able to keep the CC chain onto RBM going and finish him off. This guy still deathless in the series, by the way. For those maybe tuning in a little bit late, Serenok did not play the first 3 games, but he is deathless in the series.
Yeah, technically, I mean, he did have a monster performance in game number 4, and he is looking to repeat that here in game number 5, telling everyone and himself that he is the savior that Fisher needed when they were down and their backs were against the wall. And it's looking like that might come true as they are decently ahead here in game number 5. This could be the sort of keys that the team of Fisher College were looking for, and its name is Serenok.
Absolutely, Serenok showing up huge here. He smelled that his team was about to get eliminated, and he comes out, training weights off, fully unleashed on his Ahri. Looking real strong in this game, but he's got Enthralled to deal with. He is going to have a lot of responsibility on his shoulders to stop this Zeri from having a Zeri moment. Already 2 items strong as Enthralled, gets another tower there, got all 3 outer turrets funneled into this Zeri. And we will have to see if he's going to be able to make good on the promise of that funnel. Hanging out in mid lane, Keel looking for pull the trigger. Gonna get hit by that snare. Good block there by Clyde, buying some space for Enthralled to stay alive. Here comes Serenok, who doesn't manage to land the charm, but the bailout will save Enthralled's life. He stays standing. He survives up against the Foxfire as well. One more laser coming on through. The Impale lands on a Bajani, pulls him underneath the turret. They're going to be able to claim another kill. This one goes over to Iso, and it's a 3-for-1 team fight. Enthralled in impossible odds. Stays strong, stays alive, and Northwood start up the Baron.
The bailout manages to keep him alive, and it looks to keep the hopes of Northwood alive with it as they are on to the Baron. TP available for Serenok, but he's not going to be up for another 15 minutes. Gen G Baron buff. A little over 20 minutes here into the game, Gordo, going the way of Northwood, and they're looking to strike back here in game number 5.
And so much stuff had to go so stupidly perfect for Enthralled to survive there, but Northwood pull it off. The bailout not expiring in time. He manages to finish off that kill to be able to res himself back up. Then, just barely surviving the damage out of the Foxfire, to still keep on standing, to still return fire onto Bajani when Iso impales him underneath the turret. And it all comes together for Northwood to be wearing purple in game number 5 and have the gold lead back in their favor.
And they got the Baron, but they do sacrifice the Dragon. As a result, they're looking to put pressure here on the top side of the map. Serenok does have TP, so if a dive does happen here in the top lane, the Ahri will be able to respond, but it's looking like no dive is even going to happen as the members of Fisher are just going to give this one up.
Definitely going to try to hang on here at their base. Recalls being channeled by Keel and Serenok, but they might be a little bit late to the action. Handshake connects onto Bajani. He loses a big chunk of his HP. Curtain Call is opened up to try to clear out this wave and also focus the damage onto RBM. Dashing back away. Hostile takeover connects on towards 2. Izo leading the charge. Goes for the Impale. Lands it on towards Keel. He pops the Cyclone to try to stay alive. Diving forward with the cease and desist on towards Serenok, but Serenok stays standing. And the first kill of the fight goes to Fisher. Here's the Pop Blossom on towards 3. Enthralled sees the targets in front of him, and he takes them one at a time. 2 fall down to Northwood. It's a 3-on-3 on the map, but Serenok's on the wrong side, and Northwood are knocking on that inhibitor. They're going to take it down and crack open the top lane.
Enthralled having a Zeri moment like you mentioned, Gordo, as he is going in looking for another kill. Serenok left all on his lonesome. No ult, no flash, nowhere to run.
Oh no, and Serenok's second death of the series might be one that signals the death of Fisher, but he manages to jump out with that enhanced blast cone. Will be able to recall, will be able to reset and run it back another time, but that's super minions in the top lane for the foreseeable future.
And Enthralled, the new hope here for Northwood, the missing piece that this squad was waiting for so long to make it this far in the CLOL Championship. 3 items acquired on the Zeri, completely unleashed on this pick, and they just have to do it a couple more times, and then I think it might be all she wrote, Gordo. Enthralled coming up on this pick just to save the team in their last dance.
And you got to give it to Reppy too, right? On that Nico, finding the big Pop Blossom, scooting in there with the Rocket Belt. And this is his second Nico game of the series. Both have been fantastic. This is a pick that you're going to have to respect from Northwood going forward if they're able to close out this series, or even perhaps in seasons to come. It's Enthralled, still so strong on this area, 3 items deep, where all the money has been funneled, and with a big opportunity here for Northwood to just play out these fights. Simple, front to back, as drawn up. Don't let things get too chaotic. A big opportunity for Northwood to win if they can keep those rules true. But there's going to be the hook landed on towards Reppy. Ultimate pop to the backline. Enthralled is chain CC'd, but the follow-up damage is just not able to present itself. Interrupt onto the curtain call. Thanks to that hostile takeover. Izo waiting over the wall. And that's several key ultimates down for Fisher College, and they've got nothing to show for it.
And Bajani potentially had a way to maybe go for a TP flank. You can see that we're deep in enemy territory at this point in the game. But they expended so many ultimates, they weren't able to find any avenues to look for the picks. So that is just going to be a dead ward at the end of the day. It just feels like Northwood keep on picking these fights. They are able to pick and choose the ones they want to go for, and they are doing so good at disengaging them, even when it's Clyde just using the click of a button.
And Northwood down in kills, winning out in game number 5 through superior macro, through funneling all of the gold they can in towards Enthralled, through selective control around the map. What a terrific performance from them, up against a squad with former LCS support Poom, top-tier NACL jungler Keel. Northwood come together and stand strong to give Izo and RBM the send-off that they deserve, and even more so as they are looking for top 4 in CLOL. And a big pick, a big team fight could send them there.
They're looking to continue the music here in the last dance. One final test here for Northwood. One final test here for RBM, for Izo. And they're looking to make the most of it here. The Dragon and the Baron both spawning up in about 30 seconds time in both squads. We could potentially see a trade of objectives, but Northwood, they have to be thinking that they're not going to give them a single inch.
Hook in onto Izo. They're focusing onto it, but Izo just tanks it all. Lands the Impale, but it's onto Keel's clone, so not going to be too much to show for it. That is a big cooldown down for Northwood. If Fisher can find an engage opportunity while it's still down, it's not going to be out for too long. The next dragon, of course, is spawning here in 10 seconds. Baron in about the same.
And I have to think that Northwood probably want to go for the Baron at this point in the game. They want to get that siege. They want to get those Baron-empowered minions. They're just sending RBM here on the dragon. They don't have to commit all of the members up to this objective. Instead, they can just play a little bit of a backseat, play it a little bit mellow, make it so that Fisher can't interrupt this Vi from taking the objective, and then from there, potentially look for a pivot onto the Baron. But as you can see, Keel is ready and waiting. He has a good position for a flank and has the Cyclone available. So this could be Fisher's time to strike.
Very well could be. They're disjointed. They're scattered around the map. Keel in the enemy blue jungle. Serenok catching waves in top. Not going to be able to put together an engage. Not at this stage. Not at this time. Keel deep behind enemy lines, though, potentially setting up for a future engage around the Baron buff. Reppy's stealing away camps from his own jungler. No hard feelings. Will be securing some extra gold in towards the Chameleon. And Fisher backing away now, looking to regroup, looking to spend for what could be the last time.
For sure, and Keel still waiting in the wings on that backline, looking for the flank angle. There aren't really any wards here for Northwood, so he could get a really big one. This could turn the tide of the game in Fisher's favor, but Northwood don't seem to really have an interest in going straight for the Baron. They're just going to clear out this vision as much as possible and just try and make it so that Fisher are walking in a blind. So despite Keel having a flank, it still is a dangerous game to play.
They're starting things off. Fight getting started on towards Poom. Keels into the backside, but he's spotted. Flashes in, goes for this Cyclone. On towards the members. Clyde is getting focused down, but it's a massive hostile takeover. And Enthralled has found his way to safety. Enthralled is opening up fire on towards the Fisher College roster. Izo flashes in for Bajani. Gets his revenge for the laning phase this entire series long. RBM finding Serenok with the Vault Breaker, chasing him to the ends of the earth. It's only 2 members down, but Northwood have the advantage. They can move towards the Baron.
One of those members that are down for Fisher College is Keel. He won't be up for this. He won't be up for this Baron, rather. So Northwood, they're just gonna pivot straight onto it. The flank angle has been thwarted by Northwood, and they are gonna reap the rewards of this Baron and just looking to get to this game.
It is so close to over, Quacks. The Gen G Baron buff secured for Northwood yet again. They have done such a fantastic job of keeping their carries safe. 0 deaths onto Reppy, 0 deaths onto Enthralled. And Fisher College have yet to be able to break that streak. Keel bets it all on a massive flanking engage, but the Jin can't deal damage. The Ahri can't deal damage. And it is not enough to be able to stop Northwood from winning the fight and securing the Baron. And it may be all over but the screaming here, Quacks. Northwood needing to push their way through into the base. Just a couple of picks, a 1-fight win, 1 small advantage, and they will take things all the way home, all the way to top 4 for Northwood University.
And you can see maybe the flank angle from Keel didn't work in that last fight, but it certainly had an impact on some of the members of Northwood as they're checking every bush to make sure that there isn't a lowly Wukong in there looking for a potential flank, or any of the members of Fisher looking for a potential flank. But now all of the vision has been felled. All of the eyes that Fisher had have been blinded, and Northwood are looking to try and bust down the base.
Northwood staying grouped together, fishing around with the tangle barbs, with the handshakes, not finding the members. You can see the pressure on both teams here. Nobody wanting to pull the trigger at the wrong moment. Nobody wanting to be the one that initiated the fight where it all stopped. 7 souls harvested for the Dark Harvest of DMK. This is rude. This is rude to show at a moment like this, production.
Production, a little bit savage here on the rune choice for DMK, but a fight may be starting.
Bajani leading the charge, going to pull RBM out of position, but RBM will be able to stay strong. And that turret will fall down. They don't have that extra source of damage any longer. It's 5 members of Northwood just looking to keep on defending this siege minion. Keel looking around, finding Nico clones, shadow boxing something that isn't there. They're not going to be able to get any more. Another wave will crash in. Northwood will resume the push, and Fisher College, it's so hard for them to put the pieces together if they can't find some kind of sick engage.
They're trying to bully off the members of Fisher here, trying to get them to kind of hide behind the inhibitor, but Fisher are not backing down. Northwood, not only do they want to try and get this mid inhibitor, but there is also the top inhibitor that is completely exposed down for the taking, and Northwood just want an opportunity to try and rotate over toward that. But Fisher, they're trying not to give them an inch. They're trying to hold strong, but these Baron minions continue to fire away.
Enthralled in the middle of everybody, keeping his positioning safe. Saranok was fishing around there, but they immediately collapse to defend on that bottom side, push him towards the top, and cut off that angle of engage. Northwood secure themselves an inhib yet again, and Fisher College just left reeling, not able to respond. They're going to lose the soul here.
No contest available for Fisher, no vision around for them to try and look for anything. Now, we've seen this position before, Gordo. We saw this last game where Fisher had all the keys to the kingdom. They had all the resources at their disposal, and they just ran over Northwood, and now Soul picked up here for Northwood. They're looking to do the exact same thing.
Big opportunity here for Northwood, as we've said time and time again. Be able to take a series over Fisher College and migrate over to top 4. A date with St. Louis next weekend. All on the line here for the Timberwolves. Fisher College, they want that to be them. But their opportunities are dwindling. They will need a massive pick, a massive engage. We've seen Poom do it on the Nautilus before in their games up against St. Clair. It was in the promo video before we started game number 5. Can he find it again? Can Keel find the massive knockups again? Can Saranok get in there with a charm? They have the tools, but they're going to need them to come together just immaculately.
For sure, Fisher potentially need a miracle here to try and win this fight. Reppy looking for something a little bit goofy with the Nico, some Nico shenanigans being pulled on up. Poom taking to about half HP. Northwood just looking to try and get any kind of poke they can, but you can see Bajani potentially looking for a flank, will not be able to find it. Instead, just going to go to the mid lane, try and stop that push from happening.
Deadly Flourish not going to end up connecting. Handshake, going to go wide. RBM taking a fair bit of poke. Curtain Call opens up. Going to start throwing on through shots. Here's Bajani managing to pull back in RBM.
Whoa.
Doesn't able to get him in with that all out, but RBM still getting focused either way. Saranok going to be able to take that kill. As that is just one member down for Northwood. It cost a whole bunch of time and resources.
They got Enthralled!
Connects onto Enthralled. Bajani ready for the follow-up. The Otofo strikes, but Enthralled manages to stay alive with half HP. They pull Iso out of position. They're going to focus everything they can in onto him. He manages to immune his way through the Impale, and they will be able to focus him down. Shutdown picked up for Saranok. 2 kills back over to Northwood. Or 2 kills onto Fisher, rather, but it will cost them their Nexus turret. They will have to reset and keep up the defense.
One Nexus turret down for Fisher, but they are still holding strong. They're still looking for picks. They're still looking for plays, and they're going to look to continue doing that. RBM down for about another 15 seconds here, and you can see Fisher marching their way on toward the Baron, going to try and get this. This would be such a big opportunity for them to play defense and maybe look for a fight with the Baron-empowered minions.
Starting on towards that Baron buff. Poom keeping his team safe. Saranok ready on the TP. Baron down to 2/3 HP. DMK has to reload. Takes a big chunk from Enthralled through the wall.
RBM
Baron
is here.
At 2K. Baron at 1.2. Secured by Keel. Now what can they do to get away with it? If they lose 1 or 2 members, the game could be over right here. Poom gonna be the one focused down. He will drop to Enthralled. It is a 5 versus 4 on the map. Bajani is on the wrong side, trying to get himself out of dodge. but being chased by Reppy the whole way through. 3 members left back to defend the base. They're going to have to stand strong right now. Serenok diving forward, looking to finish off RBM, but the Deadly Flourish did not connect. Keel going to get that knock up on the back end of the Cyclone, but that's 3 big ultimates down as 4 members continue to push on in. Bajani is brawling with Reppy, but look at the Nexus. It's getting focused on by 4 members of Northwood. They outnumber Fisher College. They outnumber the Falcons. They've got no chance. Northwood, the last dance will go on. It will continue to play as Northwood takes this series in 5 games.
5-game series and first time for Northwood in the top 4. What an achievement for them. And like you said, Gordo, the last dance will continue. And man, what a series. What a performance from not just Northwood, but Fisher as well. All 10 players, or I should say all 11 players in this series going absolutely crazy at various points.
Absolutely here. I mean, such a hard-fought series from both squads, but it will be a prediction nobody could have made. Northwood moving on to CLOL top 4. Fisher College eliminated here at 5th, 6th place. They will not move any further, and it will be Northwood playing up against St. Louis next weekend. Let's pull up those predictions. Let's see. Who's right? I'm going to tell you something here. I'm right. You're right,
I'm
Quacks.
right.
We come on up with it.
When we get Colthrow and Shogo back in here, I'm afraid we might have to say that we were right, Gordo, you and I. But yeah, I mean, I believed in the power of friendship. I believed in the last dance, and it pays dividends here as they managed to take the series in 5 games. So an absolutely banger series, but at the end of the day, it's Northwood that managed to take it.
Absolutely here. With that, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to have an interview with Reppy when we come back, and then we'll be rejoined by the desk yet again. Really quick break. We'll see you guys afterwards, though. Welcome back, everybody, to Salty Runback's coverage of the CLOL 2024 Championship. I am joined by the victorious Northwood Reppy. Congratulations, man. You have just won a 5-game series to secure yourselves top 4 in CLOL. How does it feel?
It feels amazing. I think that no one expected us to be here, and it feels really good to be able to prove all the haters wrong.
Definitely must here. So I want to start off asking things about some of the older members on your team. Izo and RBM, we know this is their kind of last dance with the squad. What does it mean for you guys to be able to take them to new heights here as they, round out their last run and you guys are able to make top 4?
Well, no one expected us to even hit top 4, top 6 even. Um, for RBM and ISO, they're great teammates, and all we wanted was to get top 8 for RBM. And then when we saw the bracket and got matched up with Ole Miss, we just like kind of said a prayer and said, um, whatever happens, happens. It's our last year. Let's go out with a banger. And, we did the unexpected. We were able to 3-0 Ole Miss. UST never happened, and we beat Fisher. So we're really glad to be here and, be able to compete with, them having 1 year left, or I guess a few weeks left.
For sure. So some extra substitutions coming in for Fisher. They're kind of shifting rosters over the course of this CLOL tournament. What does that do to you guys and your ability to prep as you come on in for game or from series up against them, especially if they start changing out players mid-series like they did with Saranok there? Does it kind of throw a wrench into the plans a little bit? Were you guys prepared for it? What's that like on the Northwood side of things?
So coming into the series, I think that I was really locked in. I didn't really care about who played mid. I knew that no matter what, I was going to perform for RBM and ISO, but not only them, but for everyone else on Northwood. I think that them having Saranok and Ralik switched like between, it didn't really matter to me because I was going to run both of them. I think that coming into game 1, I was screaming for them to throw in Saranok and for him to lock in Zoe, but that obviously never happened. So I think that if they maybe threw in Saranok in game 1 and game 2, I think they could have won. But I think that it didn't really throw us off or anything else like that.
All right. Well, looking on forward towards next week, you guys now going to play up against St. Louis in your next round, lower bracket semifinals. Any thoughts in particular going into that matchup? You'll be playing up against Dark Wings in the mid lane.
Yeah, I'm excited. We just have to say a prayer that their PCs disconnect or something mid-series. Maybe their Wi-Fi goes out. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to facing the boys for semifinals and hope to go out with a win.
Good stuff there. Well, Reppy, last word goes towards you. Anybody you want to shout out, anything you want to say to those who are still tuned on in, to those who've been following Northwood throughout your CLOL journey here?
No, I just want to congratulate my team and everyone that believed in us. Shout out the boys, obviously. Shout out to everyone, like, no matter like what type of beef there is or what type of hate, like, it's at the end of the day, it's just League of Legends. So I think that we should all just be friends and be happy that we get to compete.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's great to hear, Reppy. Thanks so much for joining us here, man. I really appreciate getting to hear from you. Congratulations once again. I'll let you go celebrate with your team after what was a tight series, as we will be rejoined on the desk by Quacks and Colthrow and Shogo. Welcome back, everybody, to the stream. What a series, with Northwood coming away with it in 5 games. Shogo, let's start off with you, man. What do we need an apology? What's going on here?
No, I don't think apologies are needed. Like, winning is the prize. They don't need my my congratulation or apologies. Yeah, no, Northwood came out swinging, and they took what was theirs.
Yeah, I think as as me and Shogo might have predicted Fisher. One thing to know about CLOL in general, any collegiate event, it's kind of up in the air. You predict one thing, but you have no idea who's gonna perform on the day, who's not. And it looks like Northwood they've kind of done the miracle run, right? No one expected them to go this far, and I think a lot of that is on the backs of the person you just interviewed, Reppy. He had a really really good series. I think he's consistently been, when RBM's not on the carries, Reppy's kind of the guy that steps up most of the time. We see like plenty 4-man Nico R's. He Nico R's both carries every single fight. It's pretty good stuff from Reppy for sure.
Yeah, I agree. He had a really good series. I thought Saranac had really good performance the last 2 games. It's a shame we couldn't see 5 from him. He may have been the difference maker if he did, but at the end of the day, scrims don't matter. Like, players on paper don't matter. No one's gonna remember who's the strongest scrim team. The only thing that matters is whether you show up on match day or not. And Northwood showed up today.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I'm really excited to see Northwood go into the top 4. A little bit of I feel pessimism coming out from Reppy against their
That's
semifinal
just their tactic.
opponent.
They're just like, oh guys,
Yeah,
we're so
true.
bad. Don't even bother prepping for us. Like, we're so shit. And then and then they're ready.
I feel bad for one of our co-casters who put together that hype top 6 video, who was really looking forward to some trash talk coming out from Reppy in that interview. I don't think he got that, so a little bit of a disappointment for him maybe, but no, not a disappointment for really us. I feel, as the people that got to watch the series, it was definitely, even though Fisher lost, it was still a really impressive performance from them. So despite them, bowing out at top 6, I think that they should be proud of the performance that they put on today nonetheless.
Yeah, completely agree with you there. A little bit of humbleness from Reppy as we get in towards top 4. We'll see if they keep that up, and if that is the strategy, as Shogo says, and that'll continue to pay off for them. Do want to give everybody a little bracket update now. Let's take a look at what we're looking at. This is certainly going to show Northwood versus St. Louis University, the matchup to watch for next weekend. How are you guys feeling about that matchup? I mean, it feels like it should be SLU favored on paper. Has Northwood done anything to sell you on it? It was not a 3-0 though. Let's not get too crazy about it. It was a well-fought series for both sides. Very, very close. Are your Northwood stocks going up? Do you start to believe in them over St. Louis? Let's start with Colthrow.
I think definitely not. It feels bad for Northwood because they kind of keep saying, I've done this, I've done that, right? They beat Ole Miss, they beat Fisher. I still am gonna say they're beating kind of the weaker top echelon teams, right?
Listen, buddy.
The more sorry, forgot this guy's here. They're kind of beating the kind of more incomplete teams. I think when they go against a more complete roster like SLU, I think they'll struggle pretty heavily. When I think SLU plays pretty confidently on match days, and I think they'll probably struggle pretty heavily there. Specifically, you have Surdy, who just won NACL, and I think you have a couple other places around the map that you can't just necessarily hide versus SLU.
Shogo, you at least take issue with some of that. Where are you?
No, I think you either show up on match day or you don't. That's as bitter as that is this year. But I've been fortunate enough to make the winning run last 2 years. Now I get to see someone else hoist the trophy. I do think, like I said it before this series, that I think Northwood plays more as a team than SLU does, but I think SLU has been looking better this week than they have last week. So maybe another week of prep will really help them, get to a more complete point as a team. And I do think there's pretty big discrepancies in individual skill. And we'll see how deep this miracle run can continue.
Indeed, we will. Let's get an update on the schedule here. There's only one more match to be played this weekend. It will be Maryville versus UST tomorrow in the upper bracket finals. Winner will earn a spot in the grand finals. Loser will drop on down to play against the winner of Northwood versus SLU as we start to get towards the very last chapters in this CLOL championship and get to those last final tests, of course. Of course, this is still all possible to be brought to you on the Salty Runback Pod by that GoFundMe. Still time to donate, still an opportunity to contribute towards what they have been able to put together here. And it has been such a massive, massive undertaking that has been thanks to all of those who have contributed. Thank you to everybody who has contributed. Thank you to Gen G and Ole Miss in particular. And do, of course, want to shout out those who have donated over 100. Brento Muhammad, Garrett Meyerson, Benton Patterson, James Vandenbee, Gregory Adler, Polestar, Sandor Howe, Sean Shannon, Daniel Clerkey, Powell Weissman, Manuel Sanchez, Brandon Colomer, Gordo Cass, John Harakaitis, Leo Silverman, Shivnit Sharma, Angie Fan, Gavin Hung, Nathaniel Bahrain, Timothy Bui, Ian Ford, Kyle Upgamer, Ryan Teo, Aaron Lee, Alan Ignacio, Peter Erickson, Andrew Franklin, Tiffany Tran, Beverly, Ross Pico, and Josh Sides. Thank you to every single one of you, as well as the anonymous donors, for what you have been able to contribute and what you have helped us put on here. Thank you to Colthrow and Shogo so much for joining on today, guys. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you on board. Shout out to the production staff here, ILYA, and Rare Adam, of course. Almost said Colthrow again there. If you were on technical directing as well, it would be real impressive. We got to give the credit for that one over to Rare Adam today. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you all for tuning on in, and we will see you guys tomorrow for the Winner's Side Finals.